Hello guys, this is Terry from Genkigamingtv coming back at you with a Yokai Watch related video. Today we're just going to talk about the state of Yokai Watch as a franchise. In this particular video we're just going to kind of chill and talk about the anime as it is right now, the past of the anime, and just reference towards some of the things that may be in store for the anime's future, along with just a wee bit of context in regards to the games themselves. First, want to start off with the fact that I did find data regarding the game's sales record, but as a whole, the sales records I found were mainly from Japan, and I don't believe they are final sales records because of the time and date of them, but we'll start off by talking about them. It seems to me that Yokai Watch 1 sold 1.2 million copies per what I saw, which may not be set in stone. I was referencing a wiki page. As we know, those aren't 100% truthful. I couldn't find a true total amount via Famitsu's website, other than for Yokai Watch 4. As for Yokai Watch 2, with its multiple games, including Bony Spirits and I just forgot the other game's name because that's the only one that I cared about, so I apologize for that. As for like all renditions of Yokai Watch 2, basically all three versions of it, they sold around 6 million copies per what I found online. Originally I was saying a sales figure around 4 million copies, but I referenced another site and it reaffirmed and counted the third game sales within the whole spill of things. So about 6 million sales, that's really good. That's up from what I was saying before. In Yokai Watch 3, I had the darndest time finding sales records for it. But with that in mind, I was able to find a first week's sales record, which was around 632,135 copies sold within about the first week or so, with how it was being tracked. With that in mind, I would have to speculate that lifetime sales are between 2 and 3 million within that particular range, to stay within the ebb and flow with the other Yokai Watch games within the franchise. Ever since Yokai Watch 2, that initial first sales week seems to be extremely strong. But as for Yokai Watch 4, the initial sales week is a little bit poorer than what we were expecting. 150,721 sales, which all in all is really good, but a lot of people were expecting it to be 300,000 plus units sold or copies sold. A couple of people I've talked to were kind of disappointed with the fact that the sales were not much higher. This is to be expected with a jump to newer hardware. I mean, the Switch is growing more and more common and is a high-level gaming console, but with that being said, high-level consoles, or consoles in general, and for higher prices. And with higher prices means that your sales generally drop, and the fact that there was not 2 editions of Yokai Watch 4 didn't really necessarily harm sales. It actually shows that a singular game within the Yokai Watch franchise still stands to hold a strong market value. I would have to say that's mainly because of the shadow side push, cough cough, the superior push from the proper side of the Yokai Watch spear. As for other stuff in general, it seems like the sale of medals / arcs is still relatively good, other than the fact that it's been lower than to be expected. But sales are still relatively good concerning that. And we've also seen in general, at least in the Western audience, medals selling out real quick and then places not restocking as accurately as it should be. Just think about it like this. I live in a rural area, and I know a lot of people aren't like within big cities. Imagine having something that just sells out like that, and then you're kind of stuck. You're like, oh well, I gotta wait a month and a half for this to come in. So it does create a wee bit of an issue. But it doesn't create what I would call a true drought content-wise. But let's discuss Yokai Watch 4 a tiny bit more before we move on to more diverse topics like the potential of Shadow Side coming out, what's going to be our suitor replacement, so on and so forth. As for Yokai Watch 4, I messaged back and forth with both Ash Anime and with the Yokai Advisor, and it turns out that stuff like multiplayer you'll have to pay into to get it. That is paid DLC, and that there are going to be different DLC characters that are going to be locked into arcs in different purchases, kind of limiting or restricting the actual ability of us as general consumers outside of Japan from being able to get certain exclusive events stuff. It's kind of like when Koro does events for like Splatoon, where you're kind of locked out of being able to get the event goods. With, I guess, the QR codes on the arcs themselves might not be set to one-use locks if we're lucky, so we could kind of share the wealth to a certain degree, like the codes from Yokai Watch 1 and 2. So yeah, as for the anime now, the wiki is still not up to date. We're still really behind on it. I mean, it's not at the point of what I'd be saying is painfully behind. We are officially behind by roughly 4 episodes. I don't know who edits the wiki. I don't know who's following and promoting the series other than myself. I know Ash and Yokai are kind of doing it, but to a lesser extent, because both of them are busy, and I tend to try to cover things day one right as they are uploaded from Japan as the raw episodes. And I can tell even from like the reception of my particular videos that the perception of these are, and like the viewability of these episodes are much lower than that of Shadow Side. I feel like the thing that hurts this series the most, the newer episodes, this is, before we really get into things, I'm going to say this is not a rant. This next part is not a rant whatsoever. But what's hurting the series right now, in my mind, is the fact that our episodes, they only have a certain degree of substance, we normally have the opening section with Nate, and then we transition on to something else. Like whenever it was Yokai World Idol, or the Nyan King Dead, it was okay. Or Dr. F, it was okay. But the Koma-san stuff, like the 4 Koma stuff, I feel like that more or less steals from the actual quality of the episode. I feel like I might be the only person that feels that way, that I feel like the 4 Koma section kind of robs us of a longer segment of Nate with new yokai, or Nate bonding with Jibanyan and Whisper, or them trying to fix Nate's relationship with Katie, because only God and Hino knows why Katie marries him. Why Fumi-chan so foolishly marries him after all she's been exposed to now. After our general perception has kind of been completely clouded, unless a yokai inspirited her. The other thing I'm gonna bring up is the search for Komami, Koma-san and Komajiro's sister. It's gonna be like a 40-something episode experience. We all know that, unless Hino and the animation team decides to cut it short. Because as of right now, guys, I feel like they're gonna go through every prefecture of Japan, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, because it will kind of be promoting Japanese tourism, at least for the traditional Japanese audience. But for us Western viewers, it kind of does tourism to a certain degree, but not nearly as much as it should. And it's very likely that when it's localized, that the locations are going to be altered or potentially changed. You know how some things just happen and we just gotta deal with it. As for another topic that I feel really needs to be discussed is everyone's favorite thing, the one-chan side, or the one-chance side. aka Z moves, aka Mega Evolution, aka Dynamaxing, Gigantamaxing, insert Pokemon equivalent here, Mega Evolution for Digimon as well, because this is all just like a temporary boost where you're not locked into your form change forever. Some of these are really, really good. And when I say really, really good, I mean Jibanyan wearing a frog raincoat good. And then you have the fact that Jibanyan has 5 or 6 one-chance size. We have the multiplying Jibanyan, we have Sakura Nyan, we have M Jibanyan, we have what appears to be everyone versus the world Jibanyan. Okay, so it might be only 4. But still, I know Jibanyan is supposed to be popular, and I love this little red cat spirit to death, but our buddy doesn't need that many form changes. If anyone needs that many form changes, it's Jimin Kin, aka Manjimut. And I'm even kidding with that. I feel like every yokai should be locked down to 1 or 2 one-chance sides, or one-chance sides. Because if Jibanyan gets 4, then Koma-san and Whisper deserve 4. Koma-san, I mean, if Jibanyan gets 8, then they deserve 8, just for balancing purposes. And then you have every other yokai in the game and within the anime world that deserves multiple one-chance sides. And then we get to a situation where things are a little bit sloppy. So, yet again, not ranting, I'd like for the one-chance sides to be restricted to 1 or 2 per yokai, just for balancing purposes. And the only reason I'm bringing it up like that is unless they're going to basically say, hey, these one-chance sides are very situational. You're only able to trigger X one-chance side when Y situation is happening. Then that's the only way I can see this really building and working correctly. Because if they're going to be telling us that, hey, your one-chance side can do everything. If you want to shoot giant pineapples out of your shoulders like Blastoise from Pokemon shoots water, so be it. If you want to turn people into babies and be a baby, boom, you can do that. And so on and so forth. It's kind of like you get to the point where you're a little bit overwhelmed with the fact that one-chance side more or less kind of breaks the thin layer of the veil for consistency. I mean, it doesn't ruin it by any means, but it does break things down a bit further than what I would expect them to. You guys are getting what I'm saying. It doesn't take away from the series, but when you have so many, it overwhelms and consumes the series, where Ultimate's no longer matter because one-chance side replaces it. But as for Shadow Side and what myself and Ash think is going to happen, I believe Hino is going to see that support for the current series over here in the West is dwindling a little bit. I wouldn't say drastically, but in general, I am personally seeing about a drop in views for my Yokai Watch episode reviews of around 200, and I'm fine with that because I expected it to drop off after the Shadow Side hype, because Shadow Side was hype. It was consistent. Each episode felt like a particular part of the story that built well off of the last one. Even with them being separate micro stories, they still kept the plot consistent. And when we had a couple episodes together that built together in a way that was dynamic, it felt good. It felt substantial. It felt like getting a cake on your birthday and it being your favorite cake in the world. Consistent. And myself and Ash feel like we're going to get something similar to Shadow Side in 2020, 2021 at the latest. But with that being said, this newer stuff, like the rehash of the OG, is okay. It's not horrible, but it certainly lacks a little bit of the polish Shadow Side had. But it has its own interesting and valid quirks, and it brought us Jibanyan in a raincoat, in the froggy raincoat, which makes the world a happier place. It also brought us Nate playing a fart trumpet. Yes, fart jokes are still a thing in Yokai Watch. But at the end of the day, I miss Michi and Akinori kind of being comedic relief. So, yeah. I think we all miss something from a particular part of the series. I also miss when Katie saw Nate as a legitimate person instead of, oh, he's just my neighbor. Unless they're setting up for a yokai to cause her to forget all of the embarrassing things that Nate's done, I can't honestly see her marrying him at this point without some way of fixing it or connecting it. So let's now talk about Yokai Watch Jam, the movie, Yokai Academy, Why Can a Cat Be a Hero? Or Eiga Yokai Watch Jamu, Yokai Gakuen, Why Neko wa Hiro ni Nareru ka? Which is the 6th film in the Yokai Watch franchise. and will be coming to theaters across Japan as of December 13th, 2019. Set at the exclusive elite school of Y Academy that only allows students with top-class abilities to enter, protagonist Junpei and his unique friends take on the mysteries of the school as transforming heroes. So, Boku no Yokai Academia, or whatever you want to call it. I love Jibanyan's design. I love that Koma-san is Sendayu Koma. And we have Mela Raido and Fubuki Himikawa, aka Blizaria. And we have Mataru Tamada. We have Rei. We have Haruhiko Usumizawa, Natsuki Inra, Ryusuke Kyubi, Inma it's even in it, and we have Kingo Benimaru. So there is a lot of moving parts in this. We're introduced to a lot of new characters. We know some pre-existing characters, and it seems like this series or this movie's incantation of Whisper is a teacher. I love the student design, and I love the take on this. I would not mind if this is what our rehash is, and I wouldn't mind if this rendition of the OG ended for a couple episodes and gave us this, because this seems glorious. I approve of this entirely. The only thing it's missing is Mr. Kumamon, the mascot of Kumamoto Prefecture, because if anyone deserves to become a yokai, it's him. Well, Chitan deserves to be a yokai as well, but that's besides the point. That's just me being greedy. And it seems like these yokai are going to be having Kamen Rider-esque transformation abilities. And I've not played Yokai Watch 4 yet, but I do have my copy. I'm finishing up the series I am working on for my YouTube channel. But once I'm done, I'm going to start playing it casually for myself, and when multiplayer shows up or kicks in, or when there's extra stuff I can do in the game for video related content, like defeating Hino or something of that sort, I will show it. But I dig the character design, the sound design seems good, and the fact that there are references to Kamen Rider, it just makes me excited. All in all, guys, I want to tell you I appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope you all have a wonderful day full of positivity and happiness. Bye bye for now.